You know, yesterday I was doing some stats.
That doesn't sound like you.
I like the old stats.
Do you?
I had the stats. I got 2 screens at home. Mm-hmm. And
Flash.
I should just learn some freaking scripting like Python to just manually extract it, but I don't know.
Okay.
So I just copy and paste the
I didn't understand any of those words.
Right. But I was getting some stats.
I understood those words, but not in the context you were saying them. Yeah.
From the England and Wales game a couple of weeks ago. And my son was sitting there looking at the score 20-9. And he's like, did England only get 9 points? And I was like, yes. And he's like, so that's a try. Like, how do you get 9 points if you only scored 1 try? I'm like, well, they didn't score any tries. They got 3 penalties. And he's like, he's like, they must be out of the World Cup.
Man,
I'm like, the World Cup hasn't even started.
Yeah, he's not too far off.
He's not too far off.
They were miserable. They're a miserable team.
They don't score many tries at the moment.
I feel like we're giving a hot take, not a cold open, but that's a good.
Oh, my son! Take. I was tempted to tweet about it, but I was just like, that's a brutal take, son.
I'm not a great tweeter. Are you a great tweeter?
No,
follow me on Twitter.
I'm terrible.
You put something else on Twitter recently that was a little bit more, color than your usual sort of stuff.
What did I say?
I can't remember, but I was like, that's just not out of character. I was like, I can't believe he used the N-word. That's terrible.
Oh, what was I talking about?
Nincompoops.
Oh, yes, those damn nincompoops.
Those damn nincompoops. Awful buggers. So, Mark, this is a podcast. We're here again.
We do talk a bit of rugby. Now, last week we had incredibly poor timing because as soon as we stopped recording, literally I looked at my phone and I went, Roman Intermax out of the World Cup. And
I was literally putting this microphone away and I was like,
yeah. And then the next day...
the next night, I was staying in an Airbnb in Whangarei, believe it or not.
Because you have a day job.
Yeah. And I was having to upload the podcast and it was just quite slow upload speeds. So I started the upload at like 10, hoping it would go up at about 11. But it was like one of those like 5-hour jobbies. And I was like, oh, shit. And then I was like, I'm going to have to wake up at 2. So then I woke up at 2 and then it was like, had a minute to go and that minute took like 10 minutes.
Right.
And as I was waiting for that minute to go by, I looked at my phone and it was like, Owen Farrell cleared.
It's like, what?
So these 2 massive events that you'd hope a podcast that you're just about to watch
we
would
touched
be
on, hey, Intermac had gone off in that game, and we touched on, man, Farrell's going to get a ban.
Yeah, we were like, could be 6 weeks.
Yeah,
could be 3 weeks. What an absolute...
So timeliness was not great.
No, so there's probably some other massive scandal that's gone down, some huge injury. How gutting and that Beauden Barrett is now out of the World Cup. So don't knock on wood. Oh, that's so bad. We get off this. He's got a groin strain. Oh, dear. But no, it wasn't great timing, but people still watched it and they engaged. So
this is a rugby podcast.
Yeah, and you can watch it. And if you are watching it and you're seeing us move.
Hi, I'm waving my hand at you.
And if you're listening to us, hello, you can hear us. And you're listening to us
We might be on Google Podcasts.
We could be on Apple Podcasts.
Potentially Spotify alongside Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
just under him there.
Yeah, just snapping at his heels. Or you could, just as an off chance, you could be listening to us on Stitcher.
Yeah, Stitcher's a good one.
Or even...
Whatever podcasting platform tickles you fancy.
Did we say iHeartRadio?
I don't remember.
Yeah, whatever you listen. We're on a lot of them, I think. Ones that we don't even know of, I think.
This is true.
Anyway, well, thank you for listening. We really do appreciate it. If you do enjoy this podcast, you can share it with other people. Mike's really good at publicizing it. Give it a plug.
I've been bigging up the podcast in recent times. People gave me a little bit of stick for it. I remember once after you mentioned it, and then in a video a couple of days later, I promoted 2 Cents on tour, and people were like, oh, for God's sake, Mark, just do Tony a solid.
Promote the podcast. Because that was my old theory, was that
Mark doesn't like promoing.
And I was like, okay, well, I get that. He's a man of substance.
And then he's just like, 2 Cents on tour, 2 Cents on tour, 2 Cents on tour. You're like,
absolutely slanging that cock around.
Yeah. He's like, oh, he's just a prick.
No, I get it. Because this falls into you don't promote any of your other stuff. You're trying
I've
to get...
started promoting a wee bit. The old Lovell Rugby, the old 2 Cents a Tour, the old podcast.
Lovell Rugby.
And Planet Rugby.
Right, yeah. Well,
Lovell Rugby for jerseys, Planet Rugby for news.
Your affiliates. But I don't mean,
Yeah.
you don't often... I heard you one time say, I've got another depth video. You don't even reference your own videos very often.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, well, the depth videos, honestly... If I can swear, just quietly.
Yeah.
I put shitloads of work into them.
Yeah,
and they don't pay off in terms of how many views they get. But I think they're really interesting. They're like a labor of love.
It's a passion project for you, yeah.
Yeah, I love seeing the data.
I didn't watch... I watched the South Africa one and the All Black one.
Yeah, those ones are pretty tidy. If you look at
the Wallabies
one
I
is
didn't watch
insane. It's awful.
They're in bad shape.
It's like the fly half depth. It's
What's
like
the England one like?
It's pretty messy.
Yeah, right.
I mean, theirs are always a little bit worse because they have the Lions tours. They have to blood a bunch of guys that otherwise might not have got to play for England because the big guns are off with the Lions. But still, yeah, they've used like...
Am I in the frame, Mark?
You're there.
Here I am. I'm here.
You can always come a little closer if you dare.
I just touched his leg.
There you go.
And now it was throbbing. I feel like this is...
That wasn't my leg, son.
All of a sudden, this is going to turn into a romantic novel. But Mark, yes, we did miss some massive key events in the world of rugby. But just to touch on those, a week late and a buck short. Huge blow for the French, losing Intermac.
It just sucks, man. I mean, I don't know anyone who's looking at it like, oh, well, that was going to make the French easier for us. Like, you don't want that to happen.
And that, to be honest, I'm actually not enjoying these summer internationals. Like, I don't think the rugby, the Scots and the French played some entertaining, fun rugby. The rest of it is just really anxiety inducing. Like,
I saw Cheslin and Colby get smashed really early on in that Welsh game, and I was like, no, but he was fine. But still,
like,
it's
you're
just,
watching Khaleesi get out there after being off for so long after a hectic surgery.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're like, these are teams I don't support.
That's right.
And when I watch, I can't imagine how I'm going to feel watching the All Blacks play. I feel like if that game got called off, I wouldn't be super. I'll watch it and I'll be into it. And I don't know how to not take Test rugby seriously.
Yeah,
you know?
it's not like football where
It's totally
friendlies would just like
throwaway
yeah.
games.
That's never been a thing.
Obviously, they're very competitive athletes out there and they want to win. When they're getting that white line, it kind of changes.
Yeah.
But for the grander context around it, it's just like, let's get some players out there. But these men are huge physical athletes smashing the crap out of each other. And in some cases, shoulder to head.
Yes.
So much to talk about, Mark.
That was... you know, when that happened, we talked about it last week before we knew the cleared news. Like every morning, because I wasn't sure when the decision was going to come out, I would wake up, grab my phone, and I was literally just checking how long he got banned for. Not because I'm like wanting to see him get banned. I was just genuinely
Super
curious.
expected.
Like, how is this going to affect England's campaign? He's the captain.
Yeah.
Like, he's one of their key guys. Like, how is this going to affect him? And then I was like, cleared.
And it
didn't even occur to me that was one of the options.
Yeah, no.
Like, I mean, you and I watch a decent amount of rugby, and that just
Not for a moment.
It just didn't fit with what you've seen for the last 2 years.
And the narratives coming out of World Rugby about their number one priority, player safety and head injuries and all that sort of stuff. So it just made zero sense. We were sort of being cynical, but like, psh, I'll probably only get 3 because he's...
I
we
mean,
were like,
I honestly thought they're probably going to give him a wee bit of a wet bus ticket, kind of like with Sexton. Like, you ban him, but not for too much. You know, like Sexton's like, oh, well, he's going to be fine for the World Cup.
Yeah, and it seemed completely indefensible saying that first man was the guy who sort of... But he stays so tall in the tackle and he goes into it.
Direction. Yeah, it didn't make any sense. I mean, there were loads of England fans who were just like, this is nonsense.
And I don't know, I didn't see a single pundit or anybody going, actually, I can see how they got to that.
There's a couple. There's always a couple, yeah. Sean Edwards, the former Welsh defence coach and now French defence coach, was like, this is like a high-speed game.
Like 100%. It's unfortunate. And to be fair, there's a lot of players who run the gauntlet of it when they go into tackles. Like they go in high and because you
just upright tackles, man.
You want to make yourself big and you want to stop the momentum of the other player. Like if you're going low and you're going around knees and hips and
you're
waist,
not going to drive them back behind the advantage line.
You're not going to drive them back. They're going to win the collision.
Then they're going to win the ruck
and they're going to get super quick ruck ball and they're going to get on the front foot. So you want to put the power back into them and put them on their asses. And the best way to do that is to like chop them high, like just not there, but yeah, you know. And so, and you've got to be big to do that, you know. So, and also the other thing is, I heard an argument that when you're actually going low, your defensive abilities to actually move and make decisions are like not as competent as they would be otherwise. You go low, you get your head down.
Right. You're kind of committed.
You're kind of committing. Yeah. Whereas you're up and you can see what's going on and you can go with the step. So it's just one of those things. It's going to keep happening. There's going to be some massive cards in this World Cup.
I do feel like we are seeing fewer cards for that. I know we did see the couple.
Unless you're English.
Michael Leach got one, and Lapis Labuschagne, he got one recently. So they're still happening enough that they're kind of not uncommon. But I remember when they first started pinging that kind of tackle with red cards, there was a spate of them, and then it's kind of like I feel like guys are slowly adjusting their behaviour.
Unless you're Billy Vunipola. Oh, God. Bugger. And for me, I take zero pleasure out of it. And I really enjoy watching him play. I think he is by far and away the best number 8 in England. I don't think he was playing particularly well, but that's a massive blow. And like after the massive upheaval and hoopla around the weekend gone with what's happened with Farrell and what's continuing to happen with Farrell now, I think but he hasn't got much of a record, old Farrell. But it's going to be really confusing for them. I saw this tweeted that they're like, he's English, but he's from Tonga. So, like, how are they going to...
How do you punish him?
Yeah, like, 10 weeks, no weeks. What
Throw the book at him, but make it a really light book.
Poor old George Moala got
10 weeks. I think they reduced it down to 5. But, yeah, that did seem...
So he has to get to the semi-finals to basically...
I'm not sure. I think
it's
going to be... Yeah, not as bad as it was initially. But what do you think? Because since then, like Steve Borthwick, when they were doing the pre-match stuff, and Owen Farrell wasn't picked in that game against Ireland, and he just basically said, this is a big balls up. Like, you know, we wanted to have him. We thought this matter was closed. He was going to play, but because of all this hoopla, he's not going to play. And then Andy Farrell, they asked him about it, which was kind of a dumb question because it's his son. What's he going to say?
Yeah.
And he was just like, firstly, he was like, well, I'm pretty biased, but this is a circus. And
it is a circus.
Do you think the 100%. Reaction has been a bit over the top, or was the decision that bad?
The decision was that bad, but I don't think it's a rugby player who's got bad tackle technique who made a bad decision on a rugby field and got it wrong. Yeah. But do I think the guy's a bad dude? Do I think we should be attacking his character? Do I wish him any ill will or anything like that? Do I think maybe he's doesn't make the smartest decisions on a rugby field? Yes. Like but it's not personal. I think any sort of personal attacks on him is uncalled for but I do completely stand with the majority of people going,
how did they come to that conclusion? Yeah,
we're on your channel, so we can't swear. But what the fudge word?
Yeah,
you know, like because it was just a total head scratcher. I just was because it was 2 a.m. when I was uploading this thing. I was like, did I read that right?
Yeah.
What?
I was incredulous. It didn't occur to me that was a possibility. Like I honestly thought, like we said, they'll give him a ban. They'll make it pretty light. He'll miss the Argentina game. He'll miss the first game, and then. You know, they'll find a reason to get it done. And everyone will be pissed off that it was a light ban, but it's still a ban and people will get over it. Yeah. But the fact that it was cleared was just, I think, unbelievable.
And it just kind of, I was finding it really hard to think there must be some sort of something nefarious going on.
Yeah, I mentioned it as well. Like, I'm not usually a big conspiracy theorist guy.
It was so blatantly obvious for it's like catching somebody with the gun in their hand, like just after they've shot somebody and been like,
maybe he didn't do it. Didn't see him pull the trigger.
Yeah, like it didn't. Well, actually, in this case, you
did see him pull the trigger. Yeah,
it was quite incredible. And if I ever have a crime, I need to find that defense team.
Yeah, that KC.
Yeah, that's quite incredible. Anyway, what were your thoughts around? We're really starting on the cards, but old Billy Vunipola. Do you feel for the man? Do you think? Hey,
I mean, it's not a good hit, is it?
No, and it was about as clear cut as it gets.
And I saw that and I was like, he's gone.
Yeah. I saw one. You know what? I saw a couple against the Fijians that no one looked at. Like, there was a swinging arm from Utini to one of the Fijians' head, and it full on clocked him.
Right.
And, like,
They
didn't look at it. They showed, like, every other replay around it because
But
it was
not
led
that
to
one.
and they didn't. And I think they showed, like, once the try had gone through or something like that, they
Right.
just showed a quick little snapshot. And I was like, that was some weird editing going on there. But
I think what
did
the
you know
TM
the shot
No,
I'm talking about?
I didn't see that one.
And yeah, I was like, because when I saw that, I was like, he's in trouble.
I'll admit,
but they didn't go back, and I'm sure. And I was thought
Okay.
that if it was an Islander doing it or a French person, it would have been up on the big screen. It would have been jeers from the crowd.
Yeah, I mean, the producers definitely have a part to play in what the crowd sees. And then when the crowd goes, ooh, that's when the TMO goes, oh, show me that angle. But
Well, there was that try
the
that
TMOs are supposed to have all the different angles.
in that French game, there was a try that looked that came from a pretty clear and obvious forward pass when I saw it live.
The first French one?
Yeah, there was. We didn't see another replay of it. Like when I saw it live, I was like, that looked like it went out of the hand forward, but we couldn't get a chance to look. We saw, and if it was a backwards pass, it would have been great. It skipped like 2 men,
Right.
and it was incredible. But somehow, in all the replays, they didn't show
I
that
think
pass.
with those, the TMO checks the passes
I'm being
every
very,
try
very
anyway. So.
conspiratorial at the moment, aren't I? Yeah. Here we are, bitching about referees. This must be a rugby podcast.
Indeed. Do you want to go with
You want to go, bro?
Ireland, England, 29-10?
An uninspiring game and one of the worst performances I've seen from Ireland this year as well.
Yeah, they were like, they never really got out of third gear, but they still scored like 5 tries to 1.
England are just so far off the pace. Just they look like a team that is trapped in decades. They look like such a worse team than they were in
Yeah.
2019.
Yeah.
Their forwards are so non-dynamic.
Yeah.
Like they're very much about just their. They look like a team that says you're a prop. You just do prop things. You're a lock. You just do lock things. They're not around the park. Itoje doesn't look like the player that he was.
Yeah.
Courtney
The
Laws.
kicking just seems, I mean, they kick a lot. They kick more than anybody else
Yeah.
at the moment, but it's like they kick in deep. Nobody's contesting it. So like you kick into Hugo Keenan.
Yeah.
He's like one of the best fullbacks in the world. Why would you, if you're going to kick to him, at least make Freddie Stewart
Yeah.
catch the ball at the same time as he does, because then there's a 50-50, because they're both bloody good in the air.
Yeah.
If you give him a free catch, what's going to happen?
Yeah, 100%. But they didn't. They just kept on going back to the well that wasn't providing any water.
Yeah.
Like very, very odd. And
Like, I don't get it. Like, you know, usually if you watch a team, you can be like, I see what they're doing, but it's just not quite working. Like, sometimes the Fijians can be guilty of the opposite problem. It's like they're just trying to run everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, come on, guys. Sometimes, you know, caution's the better part of valor. You need to just find touch.
these teams that have all the teams that seem to have like gone
Sack the coaches.
yeah, with their what I'm looking for, heel response, knee jerk response. Thank you. Yeah, well, you're good for some things. Knee jerk response and just flick their coaches too close to World Cups do not seem to be doing particularly
Fiji
well.
look all right.
Yeah, they do look pretty.
But I mean,
I didn't actually know that about
the difference with Fiji is, I think, Simon Raiwalui, who took over from Vern Cotter, was working with the Fijian Drua.
Yeah.
And the majority of that squad is from the Fijian
Yeah.
Drua. So I think that consistency is kind of there. Whereas
Yeah.
everywhere else with Borthwick, with Gatland, with Eddie Jones, they've kind of had to start from scratch. But I mean, that Eddie Jones sacking from England seems to have hurt both sides.
Yeah, it absolutely has. And old Rennie's like sitting there going,
See?
did you guys see me almost beat Ireland and France and,
Yeah.
and like unfortunately lose to got pretty much robbed by the ref in the
New Zealand game.
in the New Zealand game was that?
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago.
That was last year. So 3 games he was very much in the 3 best teams in the world.
Yeah, literally.
And they
the
flicked
first,
them
second,
and they
third
flicked
teams.
them on for the Winston Peters of rugby.
You see a
Eddie-
political reference?
Yeah, I want to go deeper on that reference, by the way, and explain it to people a little bit. But maybe we can do that later in the podcast when we get a little bit more Oz talk.
Okay.
You guys can look forward to that section of the podcast. It's called Oz Talk, and it's brought to you by the good people at Forex. Forex, a beer I've never drunk, nor has it provided us any payment for this podcast. Have you ever had a Forex?
No.
Neither of us have had a Forex, but Oz Talk, proudly brought to you by Maybe we should call it 4Y.
Best moment of that game was Keith Earls getting that try.
Yeah.
The crowd went bananas. Even when he came on,
and they to be fair,
for his 100th game, the crowd just went nuts.
They looked, exactly. It would have been tragic if they didn't get on.
Yeah. Sorry, son. The game's a bit close. We're only 4 tries up.
It was lovely watching him come out with his family, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
And you know what was great? Do you know a player called James Tomalolo?
I know Jason Tomalolo.
Jason Tom. It is Jason.
Holy crap! Did I just out-league reference you?
Yeah, he's from the North Queensland Cowboys. He's one of the
one
best.
plays for Tonga.
Yeah, he's amazing.
My
Well done, congratulations.
Jeez, look at me.
Yeah. But he played his 250th game for the North Queensland on the weekend.
China reference, 250 in China. If someone calls you a 250, it means you're an idiot. But why 250?
Why were you pointing at me so much? If someone calls you
250, it means you're an idiot.
Anyway, he came out with his daughter and he came out with his dog. He really loves his dog. And he was like, cool. I want to come out with my dog. With his dog. Nice. Anyway, I thought the Irish looked their best towards the last 20 minutes of that game. When they got a little bit of rust off. But I was thinking, if they put a game like that out and play like they did in that first half against the All Blacks or the French, I know they're coming off a very good record against the All Blacks where they proved they were a better side last year in 2022. But they will lose that game.
I think the thing with the Irish is that for a lot of those guys, that was their first game back. So a bit of rust shaking off. They're still warming up.
Yeah.
But man, when he scored that try,
huge.
That was unbelievable.
Yeah, lovely
What a way
finish.
to celebrate your 100th game.
Lovely finish. Yeah,
Someone said I think that's his 100th try as well if you combine his Ireland and Munster tries. So
it all worked out well.
I didn't confirm that, but somebody said it. So
fantastic
anecdote. But yeah, what a guy.
I watched Number Blocks this morning with my daughter, and it was all about the number 100.
There you go. And you thought of Keith Earls.
I did.
Scoring that try in the corner.
Beautiful.
Everyone
loves a warm fuzzy, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
Everyone loves a little fairy tale.
So we wait to see what happens with Billy V and his red card. We wait to see what happens with Farrell and
3 weeks. And what an absolute shit show now, though. Like, the fact that World Rugby's had to respond and, does that mean that, say if he gets a 3-game ban now.
Can they appeal the appeal?
No, but can they say, well, he's already served one of the games? And they're like, well, no, he was free to play in that game. So effectively, we'll get a 4-game ban.
Yellow card upgraded to red card, appealed to back to yellow card, and then appealed to red card.
What a soap opera!
It's a bit of a mess.
Would you like to role play that whole situation between two people playing multiple characters? That could be fun.
Wales 16, South Africa 52.
Yeah.
Gatland. What are you doing? Wasn't his strongest team.
Well, yeah, what was the point?
He's got a couple of props who's like, you've played one test. I'm going to put you up against the South African scrum.
Yeah. So what was the point of that game? Gave
some
South
people
Africa...
would say, so the Welsh Rugby Union can make some extra dosh.
Yeah, okay, sure. Because if we're talking about a third-string team of a team that is maybe the 11th best team in the world right now... that's not a great team to play the world champions.
And then Dan Bigger and Liam Williams, 2 of your veterans, pull out last minute. So you've got Sam Costello and his, I think, less than 10th game. And then Kai Evans, a fullback in his first test.
To be fair, I really didn't know. I was like, it's like seeing old characters from Neighbours. I'm like, oh, that guy's still there.
Yeah.
And Neighbours isn't on the air anymore, by the way.
No, they canned it.
So that's how I feel watching and I was like,
yeah.
It's like watching.
Some of them, when I see them in the squad, I'm like, I've seen that guy. Same thing. I'm like, URC. Oh, you play for Scarlets. Okay.
Right. Okay.
I didn't know your name. I've seen your face.
Yeah, and that's from you.
That's from me.
Yeah, and you're balls deep in this shit. But
to be fair, the Welsh teams have not been doing well with the URC, so I don't watch them.
Okay, what is this a reflection of? Is there much we can take out of the game? It's going to give the South Africans a decent level of confidence.
What's great to see from a South African point of view is, number one, they're doing what my dad's been wanting them to do for ages, and it's not the first time they've been spinning it wide. They love getting it to those wingers.
But do you think when they're playing a better side and they're under a bit more pump, they'll revert to type?
I think South Africa has got multiple tricks up their sleeve now. They can smash you with their forwards, or they can, spin it wide and kick high balls to Moody, who can slap them down. And
Moods is my man.
Yeah, he's your man. So
it's Moods and Colby, eh? It's Moods and Colby or Moods and Irons.
Irons at the moment, yeah. They seem to have surpassed Mpimpy for now. But
pimps.
if you're Welsh, at least Like, so many of those tries. Like, one of them, they just chucked it to Jesse Creel when they'd, like, snaffled. Like, the South Africans had kind of buggered a chance. And then it's like, here you go.
Yeah,
like,
there were a few little...
One of them was an intercept. One of them was a penalty try that was a bit like, oh, it's kind of 50-50.
Yeah, I thought that penalty try...
For Dyer.
Was a little...
It seemed a little bit harsh.
Touch harsh. Like, what is he supposed to bloody do in that situation?
Yeah.
You know, and I thought that, to be fair, like, even if you're going to penalise him and yellow card it, he slapped it, he was able to slap it out, where it was because Moody had missed the ball.
That's the thing,
and it was over his shoulder.
That's the thing. When they give the penalty try, I'm like, well, I don't think he was going to catch it. But anyway.
Didn't make sense to me.
Anyway, so yeah, I think the Welsh, I mean, they were never going to win that game, but I don't know if 52-16 is as bad as it actually was.
It's pretty flipping bad.
Yeah, it's bad. But
the box looked good.
The box looked really good. I mean, Peter Steph-Dutoy was in phenomenal form. Khaleesi for that first half. Great. Oh, on fire.
But I'm just thinking, was this basically just like watching the box play a team the quality of...
Well, we saw Italy. I don't know if you saw it. Italy played Romania. They kind of had a similar vibe.
Yeah.
Like different levels at the moment.
There's levels to the shit, you know? It just sort of felt like I think the Otago Highlanders could have beaten that Welsh team that day. I think they could have.
Maybe the Crusaders. Maybe the Blues.
I
don't know about the Highlanders. Don't know about the Highlanders.
Well, they looked pretty inept of ideas and...
Scrum was under pressure. The line-out looked a bit better, which was at least positive because the line-out was atrocious the week before.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Jesse Creel for South Africa had a blinder.
Yeah, he looked really good.
That's unbelievable. Like, he's...
And he had Lekanyu Arm.
Lekanyu Arm's been their guy for so long. It's like when anybody steps into his shoes, they just look a bit crap.
Jesse Creel is just such a unit.
Yeah, he's spent some time in the gym, that man.
Yeah, and he's got
that fend for that try was fantastic.
Very nice. He's got good pace as well. He's a bloody good player.
He's been in good form.
Yeah.
So South Africa very encouraging.
I thought Mani Labok's passing game and running game looked very, very sharp.
Just couldn't kick from the tee. That's the one thing. Like, there's going to be a game at the World Cup that's going to be decided on goal kicks.
If you kick badly in the quarterfinal, you'll be very lucky to get through.
I reckon.
If you kick badly in both the quarterfinal and the semifinal,
you're probably not going to win a World Cup.
You're not going.
There's always one game. Like us in 2015. Remember Dan Carter against South Africa? It was the kicking that was the difference, right?
And it's usually more than one game for the South Africans. They're a team that plays high pressure footy and gets the points when they're on offer and squeezes the crap out of teams into submission and might get a late try when another team is forced to play catch up. You know, and that. You can only put that sort of schoolboy pressure on through good boot. Andre Pollard, he's starting to train.
They reckon he's training pretty much back to kind of 100% or close to it. So
why didn't they name him in the...
As far as I'm aware of what the breakdown is, I haven't watched this week's breakdown, but I think I watched last week's breakdown, and they said the squads that are being announced now aren't actually official until they get to
kneel on that weird
until
little
they get to
plank.
France. Yeah, so it would be kind of brutal to be like, so I did name you in the squad, but just FYI, I'm going to drop you right as we get to France. I don't know if they will do that, but the Japanese did that. They named James Moore, this Australian lock, in their squad, and they named 30 guys. And they were like, there's still a couple of guys we're sweating on with injury, so we're going to name the next 3 guys in a couple of days. And when they named the next 3 guys, they named 4 because they buggered off Moore.
Yeah, right.
So they can do it, and
I think so. But I think all teams want to have that sort of emotive farewell, and part of that is naming your squad to take on the rest of the world.
Before they get on the plane, right?
We didn't do it with Retallick. We would have a perfect opportunity.
They could have named Josh Lord and then been to see how Retallick's recovery goes.
And Josh Lord's over there now.
Yeah, he's in
But if Josh Lord has to play, it's because Retallick's he's gone, basically. So, yeah.
It's one to watch.
Yeah. I would be surprised if we don't see Andre Pollard at the World Cup.
I'd like to see him.
Apparently they're saying Lekanyu Arm is unlikely, but Andre
is a bit closer. Yeah.
And there's likely to be a bloody injury. You know.
Did you watch any of Italy against Romania?
I did. I watched the highlights.
Yeah. 57-7.
Yeah, and
Romania are having an absolute stinker of a prep. They lost to America, who aren't even going to the World Cup.
Yikes.
They lost to Georgia and got absolutely hammered by like 50 points.
They called them Mighty Oaks.
And they're not looking
that mighty.
No.
Jeez, and this
57-7, albeit with a red card in the first 10 minutes.
Who have we got? We've got Namibia, don't we? Have we got?
I think so.
And who have they got? They've got they've got the pool of death, don't they?
I forget, to be honest.
I think they've got the
it's
pool of
big
death.
teams that
I
I
think
mainly
they've
remember.
got. I think they've got Ireland. No, not Ireland. Sorry,
I keep getting where Portugal, Namibia, and Romania.
I think
are
we've
at
got
around the wrong
Namibia,
way.
and I think they've got.
No, we do have Namibia.
Yeah, we've
that's
got
for sure.
Namibia. They've got Tonga, South Africa. Tonga, South Africa, and of course Ireland
and Scotland.
and Scotland.
Ouch.
So that's a series of 80-point plus beatings potentially. That ain't good for a country.
57-7. The Italians just looked amazing. I mean, I looked up the last few times there's been a game where Italy game has had 50 points, and generally speaking, if an Italy game...
That was your tweet. You
Okay.
tweeted, for someone who's been long-suffering kind of Italian fan, it's good to see them pump someone.
Open a can of whoop ass, I think is what I said.
Open a can of whoop ass.
I went back and looked like
That's my 2 cents impression,
Italian
everybody.
games where there's been a 50-pointer, and it's generally Italy's getting pumped for 50. They don't usually put 50 on somebody else.
Well, they must have felt good about it.
Must have felt good, yeah.
They're like, can we play more games against these guys?
Yeah, Capuozzo
They've got oaks on their shirts.
Capuozzo got a couple.
Yeah.
He looked really good.
It's Capuzzo, by the way.
There's 3 pronunciations of his name. There's Capuozzo, which as far as I'm aware is the correct one. There's Capuzzo, which is, as far as I'm aware, the incorrect one. But the commentator in that game had another take on it.
Yeah.
It was Capuzio.
Oh, right.
It wasn't the play-by-play. It was the other person. It was 2 women. I forget.
All right, the colours.
I forget their names. Yeah.
I think it must be hard though. Sometimes I was.
How was Capuzzo?
No, I mean, what I was going to say.
A hard name.
I was deliberately trying to say it wrong as a callback to when we had this long discussion with it.
Yeah.
For somebody who's listening to this podcast for the first time, they're just like,
what is going on about?
That's not funny.
Yeah.
Which I think most people probably think.
How was that? It's not a real hard name though.
Capuzzo. Capuozzo. Speaking of hard,
4 syllables.
Mark now Benitawasi. Now Wakanitawasi. Because you're not quite saying it right either.
Somebody sent me a comment with what all the Fijian letters and how they're pronounced.
Yeah.
I've got it saved on a notepad, so it's helpful.
Like the Q and it makes that.
Q is NG, I think.
Yeah, Wangatanuita. That's why it took me so long to get Nawanitawasi. Now Wanganawitawasi. Now you try it.
Nah.
Come on, give it a bash.
So yeah, Romania got smashed. Odogwu, he got a try. Paulo Odogwu was called up by Eddie Jones for England back when he was England's coach. He never used him. And I was kind of secretly hoping, please don't use him, because I reckon he could play for Italy, because I think his dad's Italian. Like he turned down the Italians to go for England, makes sense, but never got played. So now he's playing for Italy.
But a similar situation to that Irishman who's now playing for South Africa. But he got a couple of tests.
Yeah, he got a couple of tests, and then there was the layoff period. So
yeah, he got through it. Mate, well, yeah, not great for Romania. Who's going to be our darling of the World Cup? Like, who's going to be that team? Is it Georgia?
Fiji?
Fiji?
One of those teams, yeah.
Fiji don't seem so much as a darling as just a bit of a threat.
Did you watch them play France?
I did.
34-17.
You know what was incredible about watching the Fijians? We associate them with their high-flying antics, their running rugby.
Their hooker, ITAvROM, loves a good try from 5 meters out.
But 2 of their tries were just super, super tight. Like up the middle, like through the guts.
Yeah, well, ITAvROM has been doing that for ages for the Drua, and he's been doing it for Fiji as well. No more tries. He's got a rounded edge.
How much do you think this cost?
What is it? It's just a comb for hair. It's not like a dog comb. You have a secret dog.
I don't. It's for medicine.
Okay.
What do you reckon?
I'm kind of not wanting to.
Where's
the regular one?
I don't know where the regular one is.
It's got all the chips and bits out of it.
That'll be fine. Okay. Give it here. Do you know how to do it?
I can do it.
All right. Okay. Don't muck it up.
I used to carry a bottle opener with me.
Congratulations, mate.
On my keyring.
That was a great story.
And my old work boss, my old team leader, gave me absolute stick about it. He was like, "Why the hell are you carrying a bottle opener with you?" I was like, "So I can open..."
like one of those ones on a keyring.
Yeah, those little ones.
Yeah,
he's like, "Why the hell are you opening that? Oh, why are you carrying that?" And I was like, "So I can open bottles." And he's like, he just grabbed his lighter and was like,
"Yeah, I can do that."
So then I had to learn how to open bottles with a lighter.
One of my mates has been doing the same trick, and I thought it was really cool when I was like 18.
Right.
But now I'm just like, ugh. He does it with his ring, and he goes,
In China, heaps of people like to do it with their teeth, which I find awful.
Yeah, I traveled in Europe with a Kiwi guy that used to do it all the time. And then I was like, I saw him doing it once so
Do
many
you know
times.
how much dental bills are?
Yeah, and I tried to do it once.
Oh, God.
And I was like, felt like one of the worst things, and it just
No.
hurt like shit.
No, I would never do that. But I learned to do it with a lighter.
Yeah, doing it with your teeth, it's nasty, eh?
Very nasty.
I don't think someone could pay me to do it.
Well, they could pay you. You'd have a price.
Yeah, $3.50. There we go. What were we talking about before?
Fiji loves scoring up the guts.
Yeah, and how amazing.
Rounders trial was pretty sweet.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question, which I'm not saying into the microphone, so it's going to be hard for you to hear me. I'm going to ask you a question, Mark.
Okay.
England play Fiji at this World Cup, don't they? They're in the same pool. Are they in the same pool?
No, Wales.
Shit. Well, there goes my question. Anyway, if they did
Well, that was
play,
a question.
if England played Fiji tomorrow, who wins? Trust your gut. Trust your gut.
I mean, my head tells me England, but
But how does tell them no?
where's it being played?
It's been played at Oniwa Domain, totally neutral.
We have to go Fiji. Then.
Yeah, go on, Fiji. They'd be so at home. Grassy banks.
That's what I was thinking. Grassy bags. The England players would not be used to playing at Oniwa Domain.
There's been a couple of games on Oniwa Domain.
Right.
Freaking bastards. The damn Jaffers beat us again.
Yeah.
This is the only team that we... Well, actually...
That's our two teams.
Yeah, we don't support the same NPC team.
No, that's right. We're on different sides of the
Harbour's
bridge.
having a shocker. Of
No,
a-
they've got Shooter, right?
Yeah, Shooter came back for this game.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've lost 3 in a row to start the season.
Yeah.
Not good.
Not very good.
Yeah, RTS is out there playing for your lot. I saw them training the other day, the Auckland team.
Oh, yeah?
They were training at Kelston Boys.
Okay.
They look like an impressive group of professional athletes when you
Well,
said,
they should.
yeah.
They get paid to play rugby.
Yeah. We get paid about $15 per episode to do one of these. Tell you what.
I actually had a look that DB Breweries here in Auckland
Yes, Tamaki Makoto.
has a portal thingy you can fill out to apply for sponsorship.
Should we do it?
I think it's usually like, hey, we're raising money for for some kind of thing. Give us like some beers or something.
What are the DB business? DB Bitter, like
They
export?
do Heineken.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right, we'll drink Eurotrash every day of the week.
Yeah. Should apply for some sponsorship. We don't even need the money. Just give us the beer.
We'd do it completely. Yeah,
the beer.
Actually, it would make it easier if we didn't get paid for it because you have to like go through an extra step
Right.
on YouTube.
They said they can't do like anything about sports teams. Like if you're a sports team.
we are not a sports team.
No, they can't do anything for schools. They
We're not
can't
a
do
school.
anything for like churches.
We're
or
certainly
something.
not one of those.
Yeah, so I was like, we fit the bill.
We'll do it then. Next week we'll be
should
proud to
apply.
look forward to you, and we'll just be kitted out, sold our soul. Every piece of centimeter
Deep
square.
Breweries presents. 2 cents gets distracted.
Let's do it.
Well, you never know until you ask.
No, but hey, look, the Fijians, eh? I
Yeah.
thought they looked all right.
Yeah, they looked all right. I mean, France also didn't quite. They made some changes. Obviously, no Intamaki's injured. They didn't play Dupont. They didn't play Marchand. They didn't play a bunch of their big gun guys, but they still.
They had a pretty big forward pack.
Yeah.
They
and
always
they
do.
kept going for penalties. Oh, Jaminet.
Yeah, they got 9 points pretty quick off the mark, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that a
Dante kept winning breakdown penalties.
was that to test the kicker or was that to like
I think
a
so.
bit
I
of
think,
kicking?
I think they're just trying to replicate World Cup conditions, I guess, and a bit of respect to Fiji.
Yeah.
Jaminet hasn't played a lot of rugby recently,
Yeah.
so
Well, it's a good way to start a game, like because they were getting a point a minute at the start of the
yeah,
game.
they were going fine.
And what was the end score there?
34-17.
It's not a
I
disgrace.
feel like the
It's
second
not
half was a
disgrace.
little bit against the run of play when Makalu got that intercept try from the line out. He's got wheels for a
We're
forward who can also
considering,
play the
and
back line.
this is a weekend where South Africa beat Wales by nigh on 45 points, right?
52-16, yeah.
Okay, not quite, but
The fact that Fiji-France is closer in France with that French team the way they've been playing for the last couple of years says a lot about where the teams are at.
yeah, Fiji will beat Wales.
Potentially they're in the same pool.
Yeah, I'm back in Fiji for that. Hot tip from me. people really take my tips.
Tony's Hot Takes, brought to you by
DB Breweries. And so they've got them in their pool. You know, I'm finding it hard to like get excited for these friendlies now. I'm just like, can we just get on with it
I
now?
think there's only one more week and then one more week of friendlies.
All right, okay.
I think that's us.
And then we have to do like another week of questions or something like that before we have another
Before the
questions
show
week.
kicks off. Yeah.
Yeah, before it's all on like Donkey Kong. Holy smokes. I'm in Queenstown for one of the first weeks, so we're going to have to record on a Sunday night.
Okay.
And we're going to have to keep it swear-free completely
So you
because
know
I
anything
could
for you.
just chuck it out.
Okay.
This one we haven't dropped an F-bomb yet.
No, there's been a couple of minor swears, but
Shits.
nothing too dramatic.
We can get away with one of those, apparently.
But yeah, France, I still think are getting up to speed. And Fiji looked all right. I think Lamani had the best game at 9. He looked a bit. I mean, he threw the intercept pass and just looked a bit. Yeah, I feel like if they had better service, they could have got a better result. But
Yeah, they didn't really have any wild Fiji moments.
that's the thing. Like in the Pacific Nations Cup, Fiji has just been playing some magic attacking rugby, whereas France's defence looked pretty comfortable.
But they've been playing in far more favourable conditions. So if they are able to get accustomed to those conditions and also have just a little bit of magic World Cup feel to them, they could score some great tries and they could, be there at the semi-late stages.
We will see.
If they could, give me I need to back your knowledge of the polls right now, okay?
Okay.
So if they get through, let's say they get second in their pool.
Right.
Okay, if they get out of their pools, who are they likely to be playing in
They're
a quarter?
playing either in England
Or in Australia.
or potentially Japan.
And I think they could beat England or Australia. No, sorry, I think they could beat England or Japan. I think Australia would get them.
Even though they've got all the youth and no Michael Hooper.
Yeah, because if they bet Australia, I wouldn't be absolutely shocked.
Right.
And watch out for freaking to Fiji, everybody. They're Tony Smokey. That's my hot tip. Tony's hot tips brought to you by DB Breweries.
Elsewhere, I didn't watch this one, but Samoa played the Barbars. Lima Sopawanga finally got a game for Samoa. He's been in their squad. This is his first game.
Great.
They won 28-14.
Who's on the Barbars at the moment? What kind of
I
players?
didn't watch the game.
Was it
I think Henry Spate might have been playing. I think he scored a try when I looked at the kind of try scoring thingies. But it seems like that's the official term. I know rugby.
That's your job. Literally, your job is you get the match stats, put them on a whiteboard, and talk
I
about
didn't do that game. But interestingly,
For you to call it
Samoa opting for a lot of penalties, like the French did. They didn't.
Right,
they
high
didn't
pressure.
score a massive amount of tries.
It's quite a weird game to play as a warm-up because you want to try to replicate some conditions, and the Barbars are notorious for just
Chucking it around,
getting on the piss all week and turning up and trying to play some rugby.
But yeah, good to see Sopawanga got out there and
That's
get some
good.
game time into him.
Can we talk about Eddie Jones for a moment?
You may, and then I have another point to raise with you regarding Aussie rugby.
Okay. Oh, fantastic. Moving into an Australian section.
What was your brought to you by Forex?
Yeah,
Sorry, DB we've betrayed you already. That didn't last long.
We're talking about all these brewery companies that are not supplying us with shit. Okay.
Good times.
So there's a politician in New Zealand called
Winston Peters.
Winston Peters. And Winston Peters has been around our entire lives, basically.
Yes.
And he manages to make himself a key figure in our MMP electoral system every 4 years. You don't hear about him. He's like the groundhog. He just comes. Well, it's not like what the groundhog does, but he just comes out once every 4 years, and and he's doing it this year, and he makes himself a key figure. He has these sort of populist ideas and does all this sort of stuff. But
Bloody immigrants.
yeah, he comes out with all sorts of shit, and the old people love him and all that sort of thing. He's a Māori dude, but he's the whitest Māori guy ever.
He hates.
Yeah, he goes in on the Māori all the time.
He hates. Yeah.
Yeah, and like, but he gets done. He gets done for all these scandals quite often, like campaign scandals, campaign funding scandals, all these sort of things.
Yeah.
And people come at him and they go, "Okay, so Winston, you've been clearly breaching, the campaigns act of spending this money, on this sort of thing." And he's widely reported to be in the shit for it. And his first response will be, the fact you've asked me that question is a sign of your lack of intelligence. And it's really systematic of the entire media here. There's not a brain cell amongst you. And he just goes right on the attack and just rips. And he's wildly entertaining.
Yeah.
Really, really entertaining. He's always...
He's a consummate politician.
He loves a drink. Sometimes
loves to smoke, I think, as well.
Yeah, he's a real lad. And he just goes in on all these, on all the reporters, and people who love him for it. That he just doesn't let them go, and he's just always putting the dig into anybody who dares to ask him anything that is actually a poignant question that he should answer.
Like he's not quite Trump, but he's got a little bit of that about him.
Yeah, but he's been in the game longer than Trump, but he's like, and you walk away going, you went into this sort of press conference going, he's going to get torn apart. He's not this time. You can't get away with it. And then he goes on the offensive, and then he walks away looking like the hero.
Yep.
And that was kind of like Eddie in the weekend, where like his attack coach left 24 hours before they were about to leave.
Because they had a falling out. They agreed to call it quits.
And then he said, how do you feel about him leaving? It's like, well, our coaching team's got better. Like just throwing out wild bars, and like they gets dared to be asked about Wade and
Michael Hooper,
Hooper and Cooper,
and just goes on the offensive. You guys are just negative.
Yeah, I've got to wash all this negative off, and like this is the worst press conference I've ever been at in all of world rugby. You guys need to give yourself some uppercuts. A guy that has got 0 wins. His whole thing
That's the one question that put him on the back foot when there was like, well, shouldn't we be negative because you've gone like none from 4? And he was like, yeah, okay. That was the one that kind of got him a wee bit of a touche.
We're terrible. And they're like asking about how's Tanialupu's injury. And he's like, terrible, awful. And they're like, we're awful. And he just started sucking almost in a weird way. And it was just so weird. And like the whole like just walking away and then turning around going, you guys should all give yourselves uppercuts. And like what I saw was, because I really turned off by the guy at the moment, but so many people commenting going, good on you, Eddie. It's the Winston Peters, I think. People love people
giving reporters to shove it.
Yeah, telling it to freaking stick it up their asses.
To be fair, reporters often, I don't know that I would do any better if I was like given like, ask Steve Hansen a bunch of questions. Like, I don't know that I could come up with anything better. Because those guys, when they're in the role, they're often in the mindset of they're not going to answer you anyway.
How's training going?
Yeah, exactly. So I'd like to I'm not sure that I could do any better, but it's sometimes, because they ask dumb questions, it's sometimes nice to see them just get blasted.
Yeah, I guess so. But they were asking for me poignant questions around what was actually
I watched
happening.
it and I felt like they are asking him hard question, like negative question after negative question.
But there's some terrible shit that's gone on. He's got 0 wins.
You've had 0 wins and you've dropped some of your biggest guns. So you've opened the door for those questions.
And your coaching team is falling apart just before you go into a World Cup.
Yeah.
And you're promising the earth. You are literally promising the earth. He's saying that he thinks they're going to win the World Cup. He's wildly optimistic for 0 reasons that anybody can see. Like, it's only natural that people are going to ask questions. My favorite bit, though, was when they said, well, what's with the Cobras? And he was like, mate, they're Australian. Like
Is it the hat?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
That's the hat. Mate, they're Australian. Yeah, that was the one bit where I was like, I feel you. Yeah, but wildly entertaining. And once again, no one is really talking about any of the players. Only people are talking about is Eddie. But do they really stick with this bloke if they bottle out of the World Cup? Like,
well, he's picked a side that young that is an easy excuse right there if they go out.
He picked them. Do you think Georgia's not going to win this World Cup, right? Do you think they're not going in there to give their very best performance and pick their very best teams? Very best players to do the best they possibly can in this moment in time. That's what a World Cup is about. Like
that's what you build
this
to,
this is moment in time. Who is the best in the world? You all can build for it. Like, let's do what you got to do to win it. We don't go in 8-year cycles. Please God, let's not do that. Let's not turn that into a thing. Imagine if that's South Africa's new thing that they just work into a 12-year cycle. Yeah. Anyway, that's what's your question about Australia? Any counterpoints to was I being too harsh?
No. I mean, I think he brings it on himself in terms of the actions invite the questions. So, but I did watch it and I was like, all right, guys, come on, he's not gonna that line of questioning got a bit old. I thought it was getting
But
a
it
bit
was
old.
gold entertainment, and people would have watched the crap out of all their content that they made.
That's right.
You know, it works for everybody.
So, one of the Wallaroos players has come out and said, Aussie Rugby, please explain why the wives and girlfriends of the Wallabies players are being flown out to this field. Where was it? Was it Adelaide or something?
Yeah. Business class.
Business class. And we had to fly to Canada, which
Economy.
is a long-haul flight in economy. And you guys told us you didn't have any money.
Yeah.
And there was a bunch of other points
and
as well.
They talked about why, when you promised us that we were going to have full-time contracts and a professional comp, why haven't we got that? Why is our coach not a full-time contracted member of the RA?
And you guys are paying $5 million to get some rugby league player.
Yeah, to get Swali. You know, and there were some pretty bloody good points. Yeah, that was pretty pointed.
Australia do seem to be slow with the women's game.
But they're getting completely gutted by the NRLW at the moment.
Right.
And so is New Zealand Rugby, by the way.
Okay.
But
I mean, England are the ones that...
NRLW is the Rugby League competition for the women. That's what the W stands for.
I guess that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Just telling the listeners, the
Right.
viewers, the people, the fans.
They probably should. They probably shouldn't call it NRLW. It's
what they should call our picky.
I like how the
like
World Cups are they just give it a year. give it a number.
It's the same year every.
You're not allowed to give it a letter.
The WNBA.
Yeah, I suppose so.
It's okay. It is a point of difference.
But you're not allowed to have points.
It's quite good the NRLW. You know, because the woman can put in some pretty big shots. You know, and they've got.
I watched my son's game, his final game of the season the other day.
Some hits.
He had his first carry and he got absolutely smoked. My son got flattened. He got massively hit. He was just kind of meandering.
Why are you smiling so much?
Bro, he got so smashed. And I was like, oh, wow. I wanted to see my son's reaction. He was a bit like, oh, jeez. And then he got up and played.
That's good.
Yeah.
There
was more tears in that game because kids cry every tackle game.
Yeah, right.
But
I don't remember us crying.
I don't know. These kids were 7 and 8. They were crying when they would get smashed. But yeah, my son got smashed that one time and he was like, all right, it's fine.
Yeah, okay. I was actually about to tell an anecdote, but I was a wee bit older. But that feeling when you're playing guys, when you go open grade, and I mean, you have to be over 70 kilos to play open grade, which I think is too light. Because in Auckland, you play poly lads and they're
110 kilos.
110, 115. And just when you're just 71 dripping wet. And
that's a big difference.
Yeah. And you just take a ball up and you just get blindsided and you just feel two hits. The boom, hardest hit you've ever felt in your entire life. And then the next hardest hit you've ever felt in your life is the ground.
Yeah.
And you don't even know what has happened. But all of a sudden, you're lying flat and just looking at the blue sky going, what have I done? What is happening? It's a weird feeling, you know, getting knocked the F out, really.
Australia seems slow on the uptake of the women's game. England were the ones who did it, had amazing success. And then I feel like other unions like France,
New Zealand.
and then much more belatedly New Zealand and some of the others, the other Six Nations countries are going, wow, we need to get our houses in order or we're going to get left behind. It's almost like if you think when the men's game went professional, Canada used to be not good, but decent. And then they've just, in professionalism, have fallen off a cliff.
You poop the bed.
You kind of got to wonder if Australia don't get their women's game in order soon, they're just going to get left behind.
Absolutely. And I think that is a very real possibility, especially with the fact that these athletes, so many of their athletes on the World Cup are playing NRLW.
Right.
Now. The best players are going, well, I cannot be a professional athlete, or I can be a professional
Same
athlete.
thing used to happen with when union was amateur here in New Zealand, guys like Matthew Ridge and whatnot going to league. Being the winger.
Yeah. But yeah, and I think if you're somebody who's still not watching any rugby, wasn't there a series happening at the end of the year?
Yeah, I think so.
It's different. It's definitely different, but it is fun. It's such an entertaining game when it's played at a high level.
It always gives me vibes of kind of like watching 90s men's rugby. The pace of the game is, I feel like it's higher. I would love to see the ball and playtime stats. I feel like it's higher.
Yeah, I think it is.
Gut tells me it's higher.
Yeah. There's less.
There's less faffing about.
Less tactical kicking, and when they do kick, they don't kick it quite as far. So you can see why they don't do that so much.
Yeah.
Some of the goal kicking, you're like, ooh.
Yeah, often from the sideline, some of them don't have the distance. Some of them do.
Yeah.
But, no, I
But that'll come in time, I reckon.
for sure.
you know?
Same with the men's game. I mean, from 1995 until now, it's massively different. The size of the
100%.
guys is so different.
Yeah. And if we get and that was the thing about the World Cup, it was towards those latter stages, it was like, actually, these are full, proper professional athletes now. Whereas maybe towards the end, there were people who took their sport seriously in the weekend, you know? Which is a big difference between a professional athlete and a weekend warrior.
Exactly right.
That was what we were going to call the podcast, Weekend Warriors.
Go the Wars. They had a win. They were behind.
We record this on a Monday, though, so we had to change it from Weekend Warriors.
Right.
7 in a row, mother flipper.
I was doing something.
Come on.
I was
Is it
doing
6 in a row or 7 in a row?
I think I might have been doing rugby union stats on ESPN.
Are you starting to get a little WALvSA fever?
And then up the top of the banner.
Who are we playing for bonus points?
Was it Manly?
Manly Warriors.
I'm on fire with the
Seagulls.
league today. We were behind. I say we, like I'm freaking on the team. They, the Wars.
You're a fan.
behind.
You're a
Okay,
fan.
Okay. The Warriors.
If
were
you
behind.
any team, if you could choose a team,
I've been to Warriors games before. I
you-
was a Warriors fan
we're in
as
the-
a 12-year-old.
We're in the finals. Are you going to watch the finals games?
Probably not. But it's just heartbreak waiting to happen.
Shut up.
So
This has been an incredible
up
season.
the top of the
We're third
the
in the
ESPN banner. It showed the score.
ESPN. What are
Because
you
I was
watching?
doing the stats.
right.
So many rugby stats are on ESPN. I was doing the stats. It was at night.
Yeah.
Kids are going to bed, and then up the top banner they've got live scores. And I was like, oh, the Warriors are losing. That's a shame.
You're such a rugby head who's just like, it's just a matter of time.
No, I was just thinking like that's a shame because like they've been on a really good run. I was like,
Yeah,
it had
yeah.
to come to an end sometime.
But they,
And then I kept doing the stats. And I was like, oh, was it tied up at one point?
yeah, it was.
Yeah, because I was like,
22
oh,
all.
wow, what a comeback.
Well, yeah. I'll show you this freaking late hit later. It wasn't a late hit. It was so Charles. So it's 22 all. I can't remember the 5-8 from Manly puts in a drop kick to get it. Charles Nickel-Clockstad does a great job, charges it down. It goes to their fullback, and it obviously hits the ground. Then it bounces up super high.
He has to jump up to get it.
He jumps up to get it, and
Can you tackle in the air and leave?
this is what I'm talking about. Charles Nickel-Clockstad just fully takes his legs out. The guy could have landed on his head, just goes flat on his back. Boom!
Are you allowed to do that in league or
Like
no?
from crazy high.
Wow.
Crazy high. And you're like, but the rule is you can't, if you do it from a kick, and it looks super dangerous.
Oh,
and
because it wasn't from a kick, it's
it was
not illegal.
It wasn't from a kick. It wasn't illegal. So if it was from a kick and he's going for a kick, super illegal. But he was definitely as high or even higher.
Wow.
And he was like going up with it to get it, and he was like high, almost higher than he would have been if he was going for a normal bomb catch.
Yowza.
And
Is he all right?
Yeah, he's all right. Just like he landed
Didn't one
okay.
guy break his neck years ago?
I can't remember, but
And
yeah,
he's one
but
of the
and then-
pundits now, and he's like disabled for life.
But then you know what's crazy because he came down.
he's going to brush over the fact that there's a disabled guy for life. One
Uh,
of the league guys years ago got tip tackled.
oh
on his
yeah,
head.
that was the Newcastle player.
Right.
Yeah, I've forgotten his name, but yeah, he did get disabled. He did get paralyzed. Yeah, that was horrible. What's his name?
I don't remember. He's
But
the pundit now, right? He does work
Yeah,
for...
he does a little bit of work. But anyway, so then he comes down, but he's holding the ball when he comes down, and he's just taking such a massive hit that, you know how super injured players just let go of the ball sometimes?
He still kept the ball.
No, he just let go of the ball like, I've just been absolutely mothered here. Let go of the ball and boop, knock on.
Oh, brutal.
And then from the preceding play, we scored the game-winning try.
Wow, that's kind of controversial.
But it's totally accurate on the rules.
Right.
So the
I feel like league is a little bit more lax than rugby.
And
with
Manly
some of the,
needed to win that game to actually stay in the comp. So them
the
losing,
8,
yeah,
the 10,
the 8,
the 9.
the 8. Well, they had to win every game for the rest of the year.
So now they're done.
So there's 2 more games. Even if they win both those games, they're out. So they were playing for their lives, and yeah,
And they almost lost their life in there. Wow.
I'll show you the replay. It's ruthless.
I did see a headline about it, like, oh, Warriors guy apologizes or something.
Yeah, he
about
said he
Bruno.
felt bad about it
But I still smashed him.
because there's an alternative commentary collective that
Yeah.
do the thing, and I looked at their footage of it, and they were like, "Oh no!" And they didn't know the rule. They were like, "Oh god, that's one of our best players. It's
Right.
Charles Nickel-Clockstad." He was like, "Oh, he's probably going to see a card here, and that could be the rest of the season for him because it looked that."
That bad. Oh, God.
But it was nothing.
So in rugby union, it's a red card all day long.
Oh, 100%.
Wow.
100%. Yeah. And if it was from a kick, it would have been a red card.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of rugby union,
Yes. The topic of the podcast is
there is
about.
more rugby on this coming weekend. New Zealand are playing South Africa.
I feel very anxious about this. Can we just call it off? We're ready. Okay, like this. Just play some. Can we make it touch?
Play tiddlywinks.
Play touch, guys. And you know what? It's going to start, and I'm going to be like, we must win this because it's a test match. I don't know how to be chill about it. And then I'm like, but just
go easy.
Just chill, everybody. But if we lose this game, I'm going to be gutted.
That's going to be a tasty game.
But I heard we're likely to put Havili in there.
Right, because he's a shorter game time.
Yeah.
Could be interesting.
Yeah.
Marnie Lubbock needs to have a good game with the boot.
I've got a terrible situation going on here. Real emergency. I've got an eyelash in my eyeball.
Okay.
Could you blow on my eye?
No, I'd rather not.
Would that be...
That'd be
a little bit
inappropriate.
homoerotic.
France are playing Australia.
France will win that game. France are playing a lot of footy. Are they having a week off?
Well, everyone's having a week off the week after.
Okay. But they've played every game.
They played Scotland twice. Now they've played Fiji, so it'll be their fourth game.
We haven't played for 3 weeks.
Yeah, not since our last game against the Wallabies in Dunedin.
Yeah, so it's been a wee while for us.
A bit of rust.
Are we going to get a little rusty? I'm getting a little bit nervous. Pundits are calling us the favourites now. A lot of people are starting to go, yep, I think the All Blacks are the favourites now.
Especially once Intermac got injured.
We've been the favourites before.
England are playing Fiji. That's the one you wanted to see.
Whoa.
That's the matchup you wanted to see.
I want to see it at the World Cup. I want this to be the opening game of the World Cup. I think Fiji will win that game.
Big call.
I think that England are just so incredibly inept of ideas, and Fiji look like a pretty quality squad. And it needs not to be a big game, like a big call. Like, they're wildly talented athletes, and we often think about the islands as just our poor little cousins who...
But they got a good set piece going. They got all the bits and pieces they need.
If they can keep their heads and just realise that they're a better team, they'll win.
Scotland are playing Georgia.
Scotland will win that game.
And Spain are playing Argentina. Spain, who's not going to the World Cup.
I think Argentina might sneak that one.
Just barely.
Espanol? Yeah.
You might hear a bit of Spanish in that game.
Yeah.
I believe both countries
Speak Spanish.
Although with slight differences, as far as I'm aware.
There would be dialectal differences. Should we recall...
There's a little bit of a difference between Mandarin and Wuhan dialect.
So Wuhan dialect... Is that's not called Mandarin?
I think it's in the same language family, but there are some vocab
But they
and
don't call
tonal differences.
So when they say they say
There's a few differences like that. Like instead of saying war for me, they say war.
What does that mean?
Me.
Oh. I thought you meant like me as in white, white male or something.
Some of them are totally different. Their word
teach me war.
Their word for... The Mandarin word for shoes is... no, sorry. I got it around the wrong way. The Wuhan word for shoes is 孩子. But in Mandarin, 孩子means child. So there's like this joke in Wuhan that like... Some Wuhan guy's like shoes are sitting by the river and gets washed into the river, and he's like, my hides. And someone who speaks Mandarin is like, oh shit, the guy's kid's in the water, but it's just the shoes.
Can I tell you a similar sort of thing that happened to me in England?
Okay.
So we speak English. They speak English as well. What I'm wearing right now, what you're wearing, we're wearing pants.
Not trousers.
Yeah, well, they call these trousers, but we call these pants. And when you say pants in the UK, that's your underwear. So
Underpants.
I was in a pub eating a steak dinner or something, and I was like just eating away, and something spilled on my pants, and I went, I've got shit all over my pants. And they were like, what? Hey, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Thanks for sharing, Tones. Yeah. Oh, funny cultural differences, eh? Funny cultural differences.
Do you know I've got a second channel where I go around China?
Do you?
Yeah.
What's it called, Mark? Tell us about it.
It's called 2 Cents on Tour.
And if you want to find out some fascinating facts about the fourth biggest river.
Third biggest river in the world.
Shit, I thought it was...
I went around the Yangtze. Up there.
There's the Yangtze. Above, are you actually going to put the image?
No, I'm just going to put
Why
the
don't you put
card.
the image and I'll be like, I'm touching the Yancey.
Well, you can render it in if you want. You can
Oh,
add
I've
it
got
to
to
the
eat
edit.
I do.
And also, you have a YouTube channel.
I do have a YouTube channel.
What's
it's called
your next video coming out, Tones?
This is when I put myself under the pump.
This is you need this.
Yeah, I do
You
need
need to
this.
tell the people what
2
you're
weeks.
up to. 2 weeks time.
2 weeks. 2 weeks. I'll have it done. It will be about the All Blacks, so no one will watch it. Because
Why are the All Blacks going to win the World Cup?
and why they won't win it as well.
You've already done it for South Africa.
Oh yes.
Card.
Yeah. And I did it for Ireland too.
Nice.
Yeah. And thank you to all those people who watch those videos. I do appreciate them. There are some strange folks who engage with my content when I put it out.
YouTube recommends it to me when you put it out, so good job,
That's
YouTube.
all right. It gets. I think both those videos have got about 20,000 views, and for a channel that puts out,
Not many videos.
that's okay.
Not too bad.
Yeah, it's not too bad. All right, Mark. Look, we talked about rugby. I didn't finish my. I'm usually need to be the one who finishes my beer well before the end of the podcast. We got put on a time restriction today, didn't we?
Did we go way over?
What is the time?
Oh, bang on.
Gee, we're good.
Bang on.
We smashed it today. Anyway, Mark, thank you very much for that. Well done.
It's good.
Sometimes you shake my hand well, but sometimes you've got quite big hands. He's got a tiny penis, though. You do that thing that some people with big hands do. Can I show you? You go and you grip my hand so much, and then you make me feel like I'm a little lady, and you grip me across there, and then all of a sudden I think you're like going to kiss my hand.
I gripped you there.
No, but sometimes you grip my fingers.
Oh.
So you grip my fingers, and then I'm like, oh, thank you. Like, I feel like I'm meeting a gentleman or something. So, right, get in the slot.
Oh, in the slot.
Get in the slot. There we go.
When you're in China, by the way, they don't really do a big squeeze.
Oh,
This
no.
is more just like a touch.
Yeah, and it's the same in Malaysia as well. Like
Right.
they, what do? It's a very cultural thing. It's like because they want to it's salaming because they're Muslim, and they want to like basically hold your hand, and if you're older than them, they'll put their forehead to your hand. So I was meeting all my partner's nieces, and I'm quite a lot older, so they were trying to be respectful of me.
You're
and, like,
squeezing the shit out of their
and they were
hands.
like, they were like coming up to me trying to salam me and like bow to my hand basically, and I was just like going, how the are you? Damn it! and they were like trying to like salam me, and I was like,
You squeeze them.
yeah, so,
Checking them up and down.
yeah, like so it was a few awkward moments, and then they were just like, I don't know how to deal, and we just did these super weird awkward handshakes
Good
towards the
times.
end. Yes. Anyway, I said a swear word.
You did.
Right at the end.
Right at the end.
All right, everybody. Thank you for watching.
Or listening.
Yeah, on all those sort of platforms.
Yes.
I don't know.
See you, folks.